"Victory is ours," announced Grand Admiral Zork, his four arms raised in triumph as the holographic display showed the last human warship crumbling into space debris. "The human resistance has been crushed. Their fleet is destroyed. Their planet lies defenseless before us." The command bridge of the Galactic Dominion flagship Inevitable Conquest erupted in cheers. Purple tentacles waved, antennae vibrated with joy, and mandibles clicked in approval. The celebration was well-deserved, or so they thought. After 3 grueling years of conflict with the surprisingly stubborn bipeds of Sol System, the mightiest armada in the known universe had finally prevailed. Or had they? Captain Nix, tactical officer and second-in-command, wasn't joining the festivities. His 6 eyes narrowed as he studied the battle data scrolling across his terminal. Something felt off. "Admiral," he said, his voice barely audible above the raucous celebration. "May I have a moment of your time?" Zork, still basking in adoration from the crew, reluctantly pulled himself away. "What is it, Captain? Can't you see we are celebrating the greatest victory in Dominion history?" "That's just it, sir. This victory, it was too easy." The Admiral's facial ridges furrowed with annoyance. "Too easy? We lost 17 capital ships and over 30,000 crew members. The humans fought like cornered prey beasts." "Yes, sir, but according to our intelligence, humans have colonized at least 12 systems. We have only encountered their forces in 7, and their tactics, while fierce, seemed limited, almost as if they were holding back." Zork waved a dismissive hand. "Humans are primitive and predictable. Our technological superiority was always going to prevail. Admiral, with all due respect, these are the same primitives who went from atmospheric flight to faster-than-light travel in less than 200 years. That's unprecedented in galactic history." "Your point, Captain?" "My point is that humans are known for being unpredictable, deceptive even. What if this wasn't their main force? What if?" A junior communications officer interrupted with a panicked shout. "Admiral, we are detecting multiple anomalies at the edge of the system." The holographic display shifted, showing dozens, then hundreds of spatial distortions forming a sphere around the Dominion fleet. The bridge fell silent. "What am I looking at?" demanded Zork, triumph fading from his voice. "Unknown, sir," replied the sensor operator, his tentacles trembling. "They don't match any known warp signatures in our database." With a flash that temporarily overloaded the display, hundreds of vessels materialized from the spatial distortions. Ships unlike any the Dominion had encountered before. Sleek, angular, and bristling with weapons that immediately began targeting the Dominion fleet. "Impossible," whispered Zork. "We destroyed their fleet." "No, sir," said Nix grimly. "We destroyed a fleet, just not their fleet." The communication array crackled to life, and a human face appeared on the main view screen. The being wore no helmet, exposing its bizarre, flat features and unsettling forward-facing eyes. Most disturbing was the expression on its face, what humans called a smile, but which looked like a predatory baring of teeth to Dominion sensibilities. "This is Admiral Maya Santos of the United Earth Defense Force," announced the human. "I see you have met our Decoy fleet. Impressive, wasn't it? Just wait until you see what our actual warships can do." Zork stood paralyzed, all 4 arms hanging limply at his sides. "But before we get to the unpleasant business," continued Admiral Santos, "I wanted to thank you for providing such a thorough demonstration of your tactical capabilities. We have been recording everything. Very educational." Captain Nix stepped forward. "Admiral Santos, surely we can negotiate." "Oh, we are well past negotiation," Captain Santos interrupted, her smile widening. "Your species invaded our home system, bombarded our colonies, and declared us an inferior species to be conquered. The time for talking was before all that." "You don't understand our capabilities," blustered Zork, finding his voice again. "The Dominion has conquered 17 galactic sectors. Our technology is superior in every way." "Is it, though?" asked Santos with exaggerated curiosity. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you just got outmaneuvered by a bunch of, what did your propaganda call us? Primitive bipeds barely evolved beyond their simian ancestors? Not a great look for the mighty Dominion, is it? The human admiral leaned forward, the smile vanishing. Here's what's going to happen. Your fleet will power down weapons, shields, and engines. You will prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with immediate and overwhelming force. You have 3 minutes to comply. The transmission cut off. Battle stations, roared Zork. Launch all fighters. Target their command ship. The bridge crew scrambled to obey, but Nix remained still. Sir, we are outnumbered 3-1. Their weapons are already locked on us. If we resist, we are the Galactic Dominion. Zork thundered. We do not surrender to primitives. Sir, with respect, we need to be smart about this. We need time to analyze their capabilities, to understand how they managed to deceive us so thoroughly. Your caution borders on cowardice, Captain, sneered Zork. My caution might save the lives of our remaining crew, Nix countered. The humans have clearly been planning this for years. They let us think we were winning, studying our tactics, our weaknesses. This was a trap from the beginning. Before Zork could respond, the weapons officer called out in alarm. Sir, they are targeting our engines with some kind of, I don't know what these readings mean. Explain, demanded Zork. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our database. They are not plasma-based or antimatter. It's something new. The communications array activated again, this time showing a different human. This one wore a laboratory uniform and had gray fur on the sides of its head. Hello there, said the human, adjusting what appeared to be vision enhancement devices on its face. Dr. Evan Park here, lead weapons developer for the UEDF. I couldn't help but notice you are trying to analyze our new propulsion disruptors. Fascinating technology, isn't it? Targets the exotic particles your drives use for faster-than-light travel. One hit, and... well, let's just say you won't be going anywhere fast. Or at all, really. Dr. Park's face was replaced by Admiral Santos again. 2 minutes remaining. Admiral Zork, I suggest you use them wisely. The screen went dark. Silence fell over the bridge. Every crew member looked to Zork for guidance, but the Grand Admiral seemed lost in thought, his usual confidence shattered. Sir, said Nix quietly, we need to consider the bigger picture. The Dominion Homeworld needs to know what we are facing here. And tell them what? Zork snapped. That we were outmaneuvered by a species we considered barely worthy of conquest. That all our intelligence was wrong? That humans are not the primitive savages we thought they were. Yes, said Nix firmly, exactly that. Because if we don't, the next fleet the Dominion sends will fall into the same trap. And the next, until there is no more Dominion. Zork's shoulders slumped. For the first time in his long career, the Grand Admiral looked defeated. Send the surrender signal, he said, his voice barely audible. Nix nodded to the communications officer, who quickly complied. Almost immediately, smaller human vessels began approaching the Dominion ships, boarding craft, presumably. What do you think they will do with us? Asked a young navigation officer, fear evident in her voice. If we are fortunate, they will follow the galactic conventions on prisoner treatment, said Nix, though he wasn't entirely convinced. Humans weren't signatories to the conventions, after all. The first reports of human boarding parties came within minutes. Unlike the Dominion's heavily armored shock troops, the humans wore light, maneuverable combat suits that seemed to enhance their already impressive strength and speed. They moved through the Dominion ships with disturbing efficiency, securing critical systems and gathering crew into designated holding areas. On the bridge of the inevitable conquest, the crew waited in tense silence for their turn to be captured. When the main doors finally slid open, Captain Nix was surprised to see just 3 humans enter. Even more surprising was that they weren't wearing combat armor, just standard military uniforms. I'm Commander Leo Tanaka, announced the lead human. This vessel is now under UEF control. Admiral Santos requests the presence of your commanding officer aboard our flagship. Zork stepped forward, his pride somewhat restored. I am Grand Admiral Zork of the Galactic Dominion. I demand to be treated according to my rank and status. Commander Tanaka nodded. Of course, Admiral. We are not barbarians. You will be afforded all the courtesy your rank deserves. Please come with us. As Zork was escorted from the bridge, Nix felt a tap on his shoulder. Another human, this one with dark skin and curly hair, gestured for him to follow. Captain Nix, right? I'm Lieutenant Amara Johnson. Admiral Santos would like to speak with you as well. Me? Why? Lieutenant Johnson shrugged. Not my place to say. But between us, I think she was impressed by your assessment of the situation. You saw through our deception when your boss didn't. Nix followed the human through the corridors of his own ship, noting with dismay the ease with which the boarding parties had secured it. They passed groups of Dominion crew members being processed by human soldiers, who were firm but not cruel in their handling of the prisoners. You seem surprised, observed Johnson, noticing Nix's gaze. I expected more brutality, admitted Nix. Our briefings on humans described you as violent and unpredictable. Johnson laughed. Oh, we can be, but there's no need for that here. You surrendered, after all. And if we hadn't? The human's expression turned serious. Then you'd be seeing a very different side of humanity right now. They reached a docking bay where a human shuttle waited. Inside, Nix found Admiral Zork already seated, looking thoroughly dejected. The journey to the human flagship was brief, but illuminating. Through the viewports, Nix could see the true extent of the human fleet. Their ships were diverse in design, suggesting different roles and capabilities, but all shared a sleek, predatory aesthetic that seemed perfectly in line with human nature as Nix was beginning to understand it. The human flagship Defiance was massive, at least twice the size of Inevitable Conquest. Its interior was a stark contrast to Dominion vessels, with wider corridors and brighter lighting that Nix found almost painful to his sensitive eyes. They were led to what appeared to be a conference room. Admiral Santos was waiting, along with several other high-ranking humans. Admiral Zork, Captain Nix, she greeted them. Welcome aboard the Defiance. Please have a seat. I have nothing to say to you, growled Zork. Except that the Dominion will not forget this humiliation. We will return. And when we do, you really don't get it, do you? Interrupted Santos, her tone almost pitying. There won't be a next time, Admiral. This isn't just a defeat. This is the end of your expansion into human space. Permanently. The Dominion spans 17 sectors. Protested Zork. You cannot possibly have the resources to stand against our full might. About that, said Santos, activating a holographic display. It showed a map of Dominion space, with 12 systems highlighted. While you were busy with our Decoy fleet, these systems were being visited by other human task forces. Similar conversations to this one are happening all across your precious Dominion right now. Nix felt his blood run cold. Simultaneous operations across 12 systems? That would require a much larger fleet than anyone thought we had? Finished Santos. Yes, it would. Funny thing about humans, when we are threatened, we tend to get creative and productive. Very, very productive. This is impossible, whispered Zork. Our intelligence. It was exactly what we wanted it to be, said Santos. You saw what we wanted you to see. You know what we wanted you to know. And now you are going to help us send a message back to your homeworld. What message? Asked Nix, dreading the answer. Admiral Santos leaned forward, her predatory smile returning. That humanity is not to be trifled with, but that we are not prey. That the cost of conflict with us is far, far higher than any potential gain. And if we refuse to deliver this message, challenged Zork. Then we will deliver it ourselves, replied Santos simply. In person. To your homeworld. With the same force that just demolished your fleet. As the implications of the human's words sank in, Nix realized that everything he thought he knew about this species was wrong. Humans weren't just clever prey that had somehow developed technology. They were apex predators who had hidden their true nature until the moment was right. And the Dominion had made the fatal mistake of backing them into a corner. The journey back to the Dominion homeworld was humiliating. Grand Admiral Zork and Captain Nix, once proud commanders of the mightiest fleet in the galaxy, now served as glorified messengers. Their vessel, a small human diplomatic ship called Olive Branch, apparently some kind of ironic joke, was escorted by 3 human warships that made no attempt to hide their weapons systems constantly locked on the Dominion representatives. "I still don't understand," muttered Zork, staring out the viewport at the stars streaking by. "How did we miss this? How did they build such a force without our knowledge?" Nix had been pondering the same question for days. "I believe I have a theory, Admiral." "Enlighten me," said Zork, his tone bitter but curious. "We assumed humans followed the same development patterns as other species. Most civilizations develop technology in predictable stages, with military applications coming after civilian ones. And? But humans have always done the opposite. Their greatest technological leaps came during periods of conflict. Their first nuclear technology was a weapon, not a power source. Their first major ventures into space were military initiatives disguised as scientific exploration." Zork's facial ridges twitched with irritation. "Get to the point, Captain." "The point, sir, is that when humans feel threatened, they don't just adapt, they transform. We thought we were observing their normal development, but what we were actually seeing was merely what they wanted us to see." Their conversation was interrupted by the entrance of Commander Tanaka, the human officer assigned as their liaison. "We will be arriving at your homeworld in approximately 6 hours, he announced. "Admiral Santos suggested you might want to prepare your report to your High Council." "What exactly does your Admiral expect us to say?" he demanded Zork. Tanaka shrugged, a peculiarly human gesture that Nix had come to realize indicated casual indifference. "The truth would be a good start. That you encountered a force beyond your ability to counter. That further aggression against human worlds will result in consequences your civilization is not prepared to handle. Threats and intimidation," sneered Zork. "How typically human." "Is it, though?" asked Tanaka, his tone genuinely curious. "From our perspective, you invaded our space, attacked our colonies, and declared your intention to subjugate our species. We responded by defeating your forces and offering terms that don't involve the complete dismantling of your government or occupation of your homeworld. Many humans would consider that remarkably restrained." "Restrained?" echoed Zork incredulously. "You humiliated the Dominion. You made us look weak." "No, Admiral," said Tanaka, his voice hardening slightly. "You did that yourselves when you assumed that any species different from yours must be inferior." After Tanaka left, silence hung heavily between the 2 Dominion officers. Nix found himself unable to refute the human's logic, which only added to his discomfort. "They are going to make examples of us," Zork finally said. "When we return, the High Council will blame us for this catastrophe." "Perhaps," Nix conceded. "But we might also be the only ones who can prevent a worse disaster. If the Dominion decides to retaliate without understanding what they are facing, then the humans will make good on their threats," finished Zork grimly. "And the next delegation they send to our homeworld won't be coming to talk." When they finally arrived at Dominus Prime, the Dominion capital world, they found a population in turmoil. News of the defeat had preceded them, though the details remained unclear. The arrival of actual human ships in orbit caused panic in some quarters and belligerent calls for revenge in others. The High Council, 12 of the most powerful Dominion leaders, received them in the Grand Chamber, a massive hall designed to intimidate visitors with its scale and grandeur. It seemed considerably less impressive now, with the knowledge of what human vessels were capable of orbiting directly above. High Counselor Vrax, supreme leader of the Dominion, fixed Zork and Nix with a glare that had been known to cause lesser officials to collapse in terror. "Explain yourselves," he demanded, his voice echoing through the chamber. Zork stepped forward, visibly struggling to maintain his composure. "Counselor, the campaign against the humans has failed. Their military capabilities far exceed our intelligence estimates. They allowed us to believe we were winning, only to reveal their true forces when we were vulnerable." "Impossible," declared Counselor Ezra, Minister of Military Intelligence. "Our reports clearly indicated human technology was at least 3 generations behind our own." "With respect, Counselor," interjected Nix, "those reports were wrong. Humans deliberately showed us outdated technology while developing far more advanced systems in secret. And you expect us to believe they deceived our entire intelligence apparatus?" scoffed Ezra. "They did more than deceive," said Zork. "They manipulated us. Everything we thought we knew about human capabilities was information they wanted us to have." Counselor Vrax leaned forward. "And now? What do these humans want?" Before either officer could respond, the chamber doors swung open. Admiral Santos strode in, flanked by Commander Tanaka and another human Nix hadn't met before. The council guards moved to intercept them but stopped when Vrax raised a hand. "You must be High Counselor Vrax," said Santos without preamble. "I'm Admiral Maya Santos of the United Earth Defense Force. I believe your officers were about to convey our terms." "Terms?" repeated Vrax, his tone dangerous. "You presume to dictate terms to the Galactic Dominion?" "I do," confirmed Santos calmly, "because I can." She activated a small device projecting a holographic display in the center of the chamber. It showed real-time footage of human warships positioning themselves around key Dominion worlds. "This is happening right now," explained Santos. "My fleet above your homeworld is just one of 20 similar battle groups currently deployed throughout Dominion space. We could have come in firing, but we didn't. That should tell you something about our intentions." The council chamber erupted in outraged shouts and threats, which Santos allowed to continue for exactly 30 seconds before raising her hand. "Enough," she said, her voice somehow cutting through the cacophony without shouting. "You are not in a position to bluster. You are in a position to listen." Remarkably, the chamber fell silent. "Humanity does not want war with the Dominion," Santos continued. "We never did. You started this conflict based on a fundamental misunderstanding of what humans are. You thought we were easy prey. That was a mistake." "What do you want?" asked Vrax, his earlier arrogance notably diminished. "3 things," replied Santos. "First, immediate withdrawal of all Dominion forces from human space, including systems you claim are disputed territory. Second, reparations for the colonies you attacked and the lives you took. And third, a formal treaty acknowledging humanity's sovereignty and establishing clear boundaries between our civilizations." "And if we refuse?" challenged Counselor Ezra. The human who had entered with Santos stepped forward. Unlike the military personnel, this one wore civilian clothing and carried what appeared to be a data tablet. "Thomas Rivera, United Earth Diplomatic Corps," he introduced himself. "If you refuse, Admiral Santos's battle groups have authorization to disable your planetary defense systems and orbital infrastructure. Not destroy, we are not monsters, just render them temporarily inoperable. After that, we will simply wait. According to our analysis, most Dominion worlds have food reserves for approximately 60 days. Without orbital agriculture and distribution networks, things would get uncomfortable rather quickly." The clinical way Rivera described what would effectively be a siege of the entire Dominion sent chills through the chamber. "You would starve billions," whispered one horrified council member. "No," corrected Rivera firmly. "We would never let it reach that point. Humanitarian aid would be provided to civilian populations. But your military and governmental structures would find themselves in an untenable position. Your choice is between accepting reasonable terms now or much harsher terms later, and after your population has seen that you cannot protect them from hunger, let alone from us." High Counselor Vrax stood abruptly. This council will deliberate in private. You will await our decision." "Of course," said Santos with a nod. "You have 6 hours." After the council members filed out, leaving the humans, Zork, and Nyx alone in the massive chamber, an uncomfortable silence fell. "They are going to reject your terms," said Nyx finally. "Their pride won't allow anything else." "Pride is a luxury for those who can afford it," replied Rivera. "Your leaders are pragmatists above all. They will calculate the costs and benefits and make the rational choice." "You don't understand our culture," insisted Zork. "The Dominion has never surrendered, not in its entire history." "There's always a first time," said Santos with a shrug. "Besides, we are not asking for surrender. We are offering a way for this conflict to end without further bloodshed on either side. A conflict you were clearly prepared for," noted Nyx. "I keep wondering how long you have been planning this." Commander Tanaka laughed. "Since about 5 minutes after your first ships entered our space. Humans have a long history of preparing for the worst while hoping for the best." "But the scale of your response," pressed Nyx. "The coordination across multiple systems. The technology you kept hidden. It's unprecedented." "Not really," said Santos. "Throughout our history, humans have shown remarkable capacity for mobilization when threatened. In our Second World War, one of our nations converted its entire industrial base to military production in less than a year. When we want to, we can move mountains." "It helps that you lied about your capabilities," muttered Zork bitterly. "We didn't lie," corrected Rivera. "We just didn't volunteer information you never directly asked for." "There's a difference." "A semantic one," retorted Zork. "Perhaps," conceded Rivera. "But consider this, if we had shown our full capabilities from the beginning, would you have invaded anyway?" Zork didn't answer, but his silence was telling. "That's what I thought," said Rivera. "You attacked because you believed you could win easily. The fact that you miscalculated doesn't make you victims." When the High Council returned, exactly 5 hours and 58 minutes later, their demeanor had changed noticeably. Gone was the outrage and indignation, replaced by grim resignation. "We have reviewed your terms," announced Vrax. "While we find them difficult, we recognize the reality of our situation. The Dominion will withdraw from human space immediately. The matter of reparations will require further discussion regarding amounts and methods of payment." "And the treaty?" prompted Santos. "We will sign a formal acknowledgement of human sovereignty," said Vrax reluctantly. "Boundary negotiations can begin once our forces have completed their withdrawal." Santos nodded. "That's acceptable. Diplomat Rivera will remain here with a small delegation to work out the details. The rest of us will depart once the initial withdrawal orders have been transmitted." As the humans prepared to leave, Captain Nyx approached Admiral Santos. "There's something I still don't understand," he said. "You could have destroyed us completely. Why show restraint?" Santos studied him for a moment before answering. "Contrary to what your intelligence reports probably told you, humans don't desire conquest. We are explorers by nature, not conquerors. Yes, we have a capacity for violence that few species can match, but it's always our last resort, not our first." "But you were so prepared for war," insisted Nyx. "We were prepared for defense," corrected Santos. "There's a difference. Every weapon we developed, every ship we built, every tactic we employed, they were all designed to protect, not to dominate." "And now? What happens between our species now?" "That's largely up to you," said Santos. "Humans have a remarkable capacity for forgiveness, provided we don't feel threatened anymore. Who knows? In a few generations, the Dominion and humanity might even become allies." "You truly believe that's possible? After everything that's happened?" Santos smiled, not the predatory grin from their first encounter, but something more genuine. "One of humanity's greatest strengths is our ability to adapt, to change, to grow beyond our past. If your people can do the same, then yes, I believe cooperation is possible." As the human delegation departed, Nix found himself standing beside Admiral Zork, watching the shuttle ascend toward the waiting Earth vessels. "What happens to us now?" asked Nix quietly. "We will be scapegoats, obviously," replied Zork, his tone resigned. "Someone has to take the blame for this debacle. And the Dominion? What happens to our people?" Zork was silent for a long moment. "We adapt," he said finally, "like the humans do. We learn from this humbling experience. We recognize that the galaxy is more complex, more dangerous than we believed. And perhaps," added Nix, "we learn that strength isn't always measured by the size of one's fleet or the number of worlds one controls." "Perhaps," conceded Zork reluctantly. "Though that's a difficult lesson for a civilization built on expansion." In orbit above Dominus Prime, Admiral Santos watched the planet recede on the view screen as her flagship, Defiance, prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed. "Do you think they will honor the agreement?" asked Commander Tanaka, standing at her side. "They don't have much choice," replied Santos. "But beyond that, I think they might have actually learned something today." "What's that?" "That the universe isn't divided into predators and prey. It's that intelligence and adaptability can outweigh raw power, and most importantly, that appearances can be deceiving." Tanaka nodded thoughtfully. "Do you think we will ever tell them?" "Tell them what?" "That this was our first and only fleet? That we threw everything we had at them because we knew we wouldn't get a second chance? That if they hadn't surrendered, we would have been completely overextended trying to maintain control over 12 systems simultaneously?" Santos smiled. "Some secrets are best kept, Commander. Let the Dominion believe we have 20 battle groups in reserve. It makes the peace more secure." "Deception as a peacekeeping strategy," mused Tanaka. "It seems fitting, considering how this all started." "The best victories," said Santos, "are the ones where your opponent never realizes how close they came to winning." As the Defiance jumped to FTL, leaving Dominion space behind, the message sent to humanity's potential adversaries echoed across the galaxy: "Underestimate humans at your peril. They might seem primitive, they might seem disorganized, they might even seem weak. But that's exactly what they want you to think." Back on Dominus Prime, Captain Nix stood at the window of his new office, significantly smaller and less prestigious than his previous one aboard the inevitable Conquest. His official title was now Special Advisor on Human Affairs, which everyone recognized as a polite form of demotion. Yet as he gazed up at the stars, Nix found himself not bitter but curious. Somewhere out there, humans were continuing their expansion, their exploration, their evolution. A species that had gone from planetary bound to interstellar in the blink of a cosmic eye. A species that had outthought, outmaneuvered, and outfought the mighty Dominion. A species worth watching, worth learning from. Perhaps even someday worth befriending. Nix smiled to himself. The galaxy had become a much more interesting place. And he, for one, couldn't wait to see what humans would do next.